there is no secret formula, really. It's a case of mixing all the ingredients together, and being able to deliver sustained success off the back of that is a huge challenge for sure. My name's Dave Callan. I'm the head of partnerships and business development currently at Team INEOS. We recently actually rebranded the team to the INEOS Grenadiers, but we're actually a professional cycling team competing in the World Tour.
Brilliant stuff. So my first question is, why did you join the CEO program at VSI?
Well, it was really an opportunity for me to invest in myself and my own sort of personal development. It came across as quite a unique opportunity, and I was really interested in kind of broadening my knowledge across different areas of the sporting industry. And ultimately, I'm an ambitious individual, and I think for me to be able to progress in my career, it's only going to benefit me to have more tools in my toolkit, and the program seemed to be quite diverse in terms of the cohort, but equally in terms of the subject matters that we've tackled. So yeah, it was really just based on the learning and development experience. It came across quite unique, so it was an opportunity that I really wanted to proceed with.
Yeah, and kind of looking at the program now and where you are in your career, how's it benefited you?
Well, I think, to be honest with you, it's been a bit of a mindset shift. I think for me, going back to a world of academia, having not been at university for many years now, it's enabled me to get into a different mindset with regards to how I've approached the course, and really open up to learning to areas that I wouldn't ordinarily have to engage in within my current role. So I think, given the fact that within a sporting organisation, you're quite often really sort of focused on delivering in quite a fast-paced industry, it's quite often difficult to take a bit of a step back, and the course has really enabled me to do that. So on the days where we've been together as a group, or when we've been doing some learning sessions, that there's absolutely no room to be distracted with anything that's sort of day job or work related. So it's been quite an immersive learning experience, and that's probably been the main benefit for me, I would say.
And I've noticed you've spoken on the VSI website. You talked about going back to school, as it were, kind of mid-career. How has that been? Was there a bit of a mindset change there? Did you have to kind of really think about it, or was it a case of you just wanted to progress?
It did take me a while to sort of make the decision as to whether I should proceed with this, because there's a big time commitment, really, and that was kind of the main consideration that I debated with myself, and I came to the conclusion that actually, if you're going to invest in your own learning and development, that you're going to have to potentially make sacrifices elsewhere, and I was quite willing to make sacrifices with some other sort of time commitments that I might have had elsewhere, to really take myself out of that comfort zone and put me into an environment that I hadn't been in for many years. And I've really enjoyed doing that, to be honest with you. Some of the academia content, if you liked the course, was quite challenging to get stuck into at first, because I guess because of the structure of the role that I'm in, and the fact that we work in kind of real life situations, and we're quite often challenged in different ways. Taking a more of an academic or a theory based approach and really critically analysing subject matters was quite a different way to kind of get into a mindset, if that makes sense. So that was a big consideration, but actually I came to the conclusion that it was only going to benefit me in the long run, and it has enabled me to kind of take a step back and do a lot more reading on subjects that I'm quite interested in, and forced me to to learn areas that I wouldn't normally have a massive deep engagement in within my current role. So it's been quite positive in that sense.
Brilliant. And so you've got a senior position with Team INEOS, and working in senior levels of sport involves a lot of networking, sharing ideas, sharing knowledge. VSI's got its own quite unique network. So how has that helped you in terms of opening further doors for you, expanding your knowledge as well?
Well, I think that was actually one of the main things that attracted me to the course as well, was the opportunity to grow and deepen my network across the industry. I think I remember one of the very first sessions that we had was a masterclass with Rick Parry, and just being in the same room as people at that level within the sports industry is great for my network. And the cohort itself, so the cohort that I'm on has got a great diverse, eclectic mix of individuals from different backgrounds, different sports, and just being in the company of those individuals, naturally you're in a learning environment because you're picking up on things, whether it be cultures, processes, challenges that other sports face that you might not necessarily face on a day-to-day basis in your own environment. And then also we've been given the opportunity to mix outside of our cohort. So I've done some sessions with the sporting directors, which were again really engaging and enabled me to mix with a different group of people and equally grow my network even further. And so, some of those relationships will last long after this learning experience for sure. And I've had some productive conversations off the back of some of that networking as well. So there's actually some tangible output to that part of the program. So it's been beneficial for sure from that standpoint.
So it sounds like you're enjoying that networking aspect. Has there been any other aspects of the program, kind of in or out the classroom, that you've really enjoyed or found like a healthy challenge?
I wouldn't say there's been like one individual standout moment, but I do think that the sessions together as a group and the I guess the healthy debates that we've had as a group have been really, really enjoyable. And that wasn't something that I really considered going into the course, but actually we've been given the opportunity to express ourselves and listen to challenges from other people, and debate quite healthily, which has been really enjoyable. So that's kind of one part that I would probably highlight. And then I guess equally on top of that, there's been the opportunity to visit other sporting organisations that you wouldn't, I guess, necessarily always have the opportunity to visit. So that's been quite interesting as well.
Now, I've just moved maybe onto your career now as well. Before you joined Team INEOS, you're at Manchester United. So obviously both INEOS and Manchester United, they're organisations, they're world leaders in their fields and their sports. How does that kind of excellence, whether on the track or on the pitch, kind of contribute and affect the work the staff do behind the scenes? And is that a two-way thing at those organisations?
Well, to start with, I think for sure that they're both, I guess, high-performing organisations, and that's really what's attracted me to work for both Manchester United and for Team INEOS, and then what formerly Team Sky. And really, I think it's quite a unique framework within sports, because you've almost got two worlds colliding. You've got the sporting performance area of the organisation, and then you've got the sports business area of the organisation as well. And I think what's important is culturally there has to be a high performing culture driven through the whole organisation that's normally set from the leadership downwards. And I think actually there's learnings both ways. I think for sure from a sort of sports business standpoint, there is definitely inspiration you can take from the sporting performance side of any team. But equally, I think the the way that a sports organisation is structured from a sports business standpoint can enable winning performances, and it can certainly enable an organisation to perform better either at a race or on the pitch. So I don't think I certainly think it's a two-way process, and I think it's a challenge for sure within a sporting context to have these two areas working in unison. But I think it's down to the leadership of those organisations to make sure that a winning and high-performing culture sort of transcends through the whole organisation. But yeah, I guess in my experience, it's certainly been a culture that has been driven throughout all of the organisations that I've worked in, whether it be a sporting performance sense or whether it's on the sports business side of it. So yeah, I think the short answer is it's definitely a two-way. It's definitely a two-way street for sure.
Fantastic. And obviously now at INEOS, sadly, obviously cycling as a sport has a checkered history, if you like, in terms of athletes' performance. So with your role, how do you build those relationships with partners, commercial partners, to ensure your and their brand is kind of secure and safe from any potential scandal that might occur?
Yeah, I think inevitably that's a question that gets asked in cycling. But regardless of the fact that the sport has a past, I think it has moved on considerably in recent years. And I've only been in the sport for the last 4 years, and we've done lots of independent research that tells us actually that the interest levels in cycling grow year on year, and that cycling can deliver a lot of value return with regards to sort of brand or commercial partnerships, and even when you compare it to other sports as well. So actually that conversation around the history of the sport is not necessarily a challenge for us, to be honest with you. We don't often get faced with difficult questions from commercial partners or brands that relate to the history of the sport, because we're quite comfortable in our own skin, and we're quite confident we can deliver a lot of value back to our ownership structure and our commercial partners as well. And actually, yeah, my experience in the sport over the past 4 years has been universally positive. We've been able to, as a sporting organisation, grow our commercial partnership program. We've been through an ownership change as well. We went from obviously being Team Sky into Team INEOS, and I think that in itself shows there's a lot of confidence in the sport from big organisations and big brands. So yeah, I don't see it being a particular challenge that we're faced with, to be honest with you. I think it's an easy conversation for us to navigate these days, notwithstanding the fact that we do recognise there has been a history to the sport, but we're living in the here and now, and as a team we're really confident in what we're doing, and all our partners, including INEOS, support us along the way.
Brilliant. And also, you've worked Team Sky, now Team INEOS. They've been hugely successful over the years, and that's been a big part of the step change in cycling in Britain as a whole. Also at a national level as well, Britain are very, very successful. Where do you think that change, was it maybe culturally or professionally in the sport, has enabled Britain maybe as a whole to almost be the go-to cycling nation?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. I think it's probably got different layers to it in terms of the answer to that, but I can only talk from my own experiences. I think people assume that there's some sort of secret winning formula when they see sustained success within sport, but actually in my experience, I think what I've seen is actually a relentless will to win is something that's required, but the relentless will to win is not enough. That's got to be coupled with real hard work and grit and determination to make that happen. And that's really what I've seen within my career, both at Manchester United and at Team Sky, Team INEOS. both of whom have had great sustained success, but also challenges along the way. And I think from a cultural standpoint, ingraining a winning mentality within the organisation is something that is really key to that. And the hard work and the grit and the determination that goes with it is something that I've seen throughout both organisations that I've worked in, and it's something that I pride myself on as well. But then equally, we're in the world of sport, so let's be honest. There's a talent, there's a sporting talent part to that question as well, and I think talent ID and the development of talent is obviously key to success as well. So the ingredients are not simple. There is no secret formula, really. It's a case of mixing all the ingredients together, and being able to deliver sustained success off the back of that is a huge challenge for sure. And it's something that none of us should ever take for granted within sport. So yeah, there's no easy answer to that question, for sure. From my experiences, I've been in organisations now who've had a lot of sporting success, and the one thing that I recognise is, that winning mentality first and foremost, and the determination and hard work that sits behind it.
Brilliant. And I've just got one more question for you, Dave. It's, what advice can you give maybe fellow sports industry professionals who are looking at joining the CEO program at VSI? Why should they do it, and how will it benefit them in their career?
I mean, I think for what I would say to anybody who's thinking about it, I think it's definitely it's definitely worth considering. I think that the main, I'm not going to say hurdle, but the main consideration that I personally had was how am I going to find the time to invest in this program from a personal standpoint. And I would reassure individuals that are looking at it that it's well worth it for sure. And the way that the program is run by VSI and the guys at Salford Uni is flexible, and it's aimed at individuals who are in senior positions within sports. And yeah, as a result of that, there's a degree of flexibility, and the learning experience can be in some ways bespoke to the cohort and bespoke to the individuals. So if you're thinking about joining the course, I wouldn't be put off by the what could be daunting prospect of having to spend hours and hours reading books and writing reports. It's not necessarily turned out like that for me, and yeah, I would highly recommend it to anybody who's looking at taking it on for sure.